Mohamed, the Minister of Information, Mohamed, wey do mouth like Tolo Tolo Nyash. He don't come again, my people. This time around, he dey attack Twitter CEO, Jack Dorsey. Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel. How are you all doing? I greet you all with your time. It's so good to have you guys back. I really appreciate your love and support. My God will continue to bless you all. So before we dive into today's matter, if you are new in the building, please consider to be part of this family. Turn on the bell icon so that you'll be getting more updates anytime we upload. To all our returning subscribers, thank you and God bless you all. So my lovely people, una know wetin dey sup now. For the past few weeks, that Nigeria government don ban Twitter in Nigeria. So since then, different people they talk for the matter. The problem we will get for her not be Twitter matter, not be the main problem we will get. So in this very video, one I go dey watch. So the video long go. Me, I don't want to talk for like 2 minutes. Then I go leave una and listen to the video, guys. They're very interesting. Mohamed, that lie man, information minister, that lie man, he said na Twitter. Now it dey behind Endsars protest. What happened last year? Where we say a lot of people life destroyed, a lot of people were murdered in cold blood. He said na Twitter. Now he sponsor them. You now see this our useless leader. They always get that way of that is they go leave the things wey matter for the country. Go they dive, enter, waiting or even they bored. Any small thing, they go just use them, take divert attention to another place. With all the killings, all the kidnappings, everything where they go on, waiting this government put for head this moment na Twitter. Na Twitter they say it be their problem. Twitter not be your problem, Mohamed and Nico. Twitter not be your problem. Like Mohamed. How can old people now not go even sit down one day say una be old men? Old men, old father that are supposed to cater for their children well. It's a very big shame, my people. I go leave on and listen to the video. I beg, don't go without leaving your comment. Let know what you think about this very video. God bless you guys. Bye.
Well, let's begin what's trending with reactions to the Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed's claim that Jack Dorsey, CEO of Twitter, and his microblogging platform are liable for the losses the country suffered during the Endsars protests. The minister accused Jack Dorsey of raising funds through bitcoins to sponsor the protest, and after debunking claims that Twitter wasn't banned from the country for deleting President Mohamed Buhari's tweet in which he referenced the Nigerian civil war, also claimed that Twitter was a platform of choice for a particular separatist promoter who uses the platform to instigate violence against public property and members of the police force. Well, let's take some reactions. Well, this is a comment from Pastor David, who wrote, "Was it Twitter's Dorsey that opened fire on the youth during their peaceful protest, which was caused by the uprising against poor governance of Nigeria? The whole world can see how this government continues to wreak havoc throughout Nigeria and waste lives of Nigerian citizens every day." Rufai, your comment on the story.
I'll go straight to it. 2 points, or 2 to 3 points. Number one will be, please, open Twitter back up. That's just it. Open Twitter back on. Because it's obvious we keep seeing people shopping for reasons to ban Twitter. We keep seeing people trying to say, oh, this is not the reason we are banning Twitter. The reason Twitter was banned was because they took down the post of the president. If they had not taken that post down, Twitter will not be banned today. That I know. So anybody that says otherwise, I don't know about that. The reason is because the president's tweet was taken down. And we've gone further to shop for reasons to justify this act. Then we've shopped back up to Endsars now. At first, we said, oh, they must pay taxes in this country. And we brought out the report that Twitter don't even really make as much money as you think. So how are they supposed to pay a lot of the taxes? We've talked about taxes. Now we've been able to hold one accountable by saying, you know what? They cost Endsars. Twitter did this for Endsars. The minister should prove it. I doubt if he's going to be able to prove it. But he should prove it. He should prove it that the miscreants that hijacked a peaceful protest by Nigerians, a peaceful protest that started attacking them, the miscreants that people saw coming down from executive cars, the miscreants that a lot of people tagged to politicians. The people should prove it, that those miscreants, because you see, when some people talk, we laugh. We all know that some of those area boys that started the Wahala, they even know their names. People identified them, and they told other people, the certain politicians they work for. So they should bring that out, and they should tie that to Jack Dorsey paying those people. We all know how there were videos that surfaced online after these miscreants went to attack protesters, and they were sharing the funds and the words they said. We all saw these things, just like we saw recently how some people were paid 1,000 naira to protest. We saw these things. But the minister should go ahead and prove it. The blame for Jack in all of this is this: neutrality. People will always harp on the fact that he could have just stayed neutral. And that's what they would allege everywhere. And that's always the bone of contention. He could have just stayed neutral in all of this, since he's the one running the site. And there are people pro and against the protest on his site. That was just the part that I feel he could learn. And he could have learned it better if he sought advice. You will see that Facebook does a better job, because Mark Zuckerberg has employed somebody called Sheryl Sandberg to be COO of Facebook, Chief Operating Officer. And she has real experience. So tech guys are activists. You know, they want to air their views on issues, but they forget that you need to draw the line between running a company and becoming an activist and your personal views. So he should have employed somebody to walk him through that line. You would also see, to a large extent, that's why when Google started, Google know they couldn't have just left it in the hands of, Larry Page and Sergey Brin. So they employed a guy called Eric Schmidt to be chairman of Google. Because you see, intergovernmental relations, you actually need somebody that has multinational experience to be able to walk you through that role. That Jack Dorsey could have done correctly. But the minister should go ahead and prove it now. What he has said, that it was because of Twitter. Twitter paid the people that went ahead and demolished and burned 200 buses in Lagos. Because we all know when the violence started. The first week after the protest, there was no violence. It was peaceful. It was when the miscreants and the area boys got in. And how did the area boys got in? Who funded the area boys? Who fueled them?
Now, Dr. Bati, can we say that Jack Dorsey should be held liable in some ways? If you recall, I believe it was even last week, he said Nigeria would rule Bitcoin at one point. I think that he's, doing so much. He's tweeted the Nigerian flag just only, 3 days ago, and also on Democracy Day. And people are saying that he's so desperate at this point. What is your take on that?
Well, the Minister of Information, incidentally, is a lawyer. So when he uses the word vicarious liability, he's using a legal term. Liability is under the law of tort. Vicarious liability is when you can be held responsible for a tort, an omission under tort that has been committed by another. So that's different from strict liability. That's different from what is also called absolute liability. Okay. Now, you see that the Minister of Information tried to prove that vicarious liability by citing instances of actions committed by Jack Dorsey. How he was mobilizing funding for Endsars protests, how he tried to provide Bitcoin support for Endsars protesters, how he also provided his platform for the promotion of actions which, in the opinion of the Minister of Information, were capable of undermining the corporate existence of Nigeria. And his overall objective is to prove that this, suspension of Twitter in Nigeria is not just because of the tweet by the president of Nigeria, but that, this has been something that has been long in coming. Now, I said earlier when this subject came up that in October 2020, one Adamu Garuba actually went to court to sue Twitter, $1 billion, accusing Jack Dorsey particularly of the same liability. But of course, when the case came up and one Tope Akinyode decided to represent Jack Dorsey in court, the complainant didn't show up, his lawyer also did not show up, and in January this year, Adamu Garuba withdrew the case. Now, to the extent that vicarious liability is a legal obligation, then the Minister of Information, what does he intend to do? I mean, a man does not become liable because another says so. You have to go to a court of law to go and talk about it, to go and prove it. So is the Nigerian government going to take Jack Dorsey to court? And again, under what jurisdiction? Considering that this is a man who does his business within a worldwide web space. So these are some of the issues that will come up. But I think that what is more instructive is that Jack Dorsey himself has been trying to, succumb to the pressure coming from Nigeria. Now, two major markets. Twitter has been trying to expand. And two major markets that are of use to that expansion and growth of Twitter. Twitter is having problems there. It's having problems in India, where it has 700 million followers. And in India, the Indian government has been encouraging Coup, an alternate micro-blogging platform, which already has about 6 million in India. Coup is situated in Bengaluru in India. This same Coup has suddenly showed up in Nigeria as an alternative to Twitter here. So this has put Jack Dorsey and his micro-blogging platform under pressure.
Yes.
But Alhaji Lai Mohamed says Twitter has written formally to Nigeria to engage Nigeria in conversations. But my fear is that I hope that this will not end up as an absolute attempt to censor free speech in Nigeria. Because in the statement made by the Minister of Information, he was saying that the only way Twitter will not have any issues in Nigeria is if it is going to allow on its platform only content that is approved by the Nigerian government. And that way, Nigeria is trying to toe the line of India, which introduced digital rules, which have also become a major issue for Twitter. The short end of the stick, the long end of the stick, is about protecting not just national laws, not just sovereignty, but ensuring that individual rights to free speech are not infringed upon. Because the Twitter platform, as well as Google, as well as Facebook, these are, platforms that have expanded the frontiers of human expression. These are platforms that have become very democratic. So the major challenge is in striking the balance, both for Twitter and also for governments that are uncomfortable with this digital platform.
I wanted to take you on that comment where you said that Jack Dorsey needed Nigeria and India. I mean, people are even saying that why did he go open his headquarters in Ghana if he knew that he needed Nigeria that much?
Well, he's been vindicated now, hasn't he? Because the Nigerian government can't reach him. He's tucked away in Ghana. But as I was saying this morning, there is logic in penalizing those who are guilty of inciting violence. Everybody must be responsible as an individual in the way you use social media. Whether you're a social media user or social media owner, you cannot just tweet what you like. But that, for me, is where it ends. What is Jack Dorsey really accused of doing? How is he responsible for the looting? He was tweeting about fundraising. What was the money raised? Quite a considerable amount of money. It was raised and used in very specific ways, which were made public. Medical bills, food, petrol, support for victims, and what have you. None of those monies that were raised were spent on, hooliganism, vandalism, none of that. And he was also accused of retweeting. He was retweeting support for the protest. The protest itself is not the issue. We will recall that it was politicians who sponsored hoodlums to come in and change the tone of the protest.
Very correct.
From there, things escalated. There was a curfew, at which point those doing the fundraising, those who were leading the protests, were all tweeting, everybody stay at home. So at that point, Endsars was over. Their hands had been washed clean of Endsars. So what escalated the issue really was that shooting on October 20th. What does that have to do with the Endsars protesters and Jack Dorsey tweeting?
Absolutely
that was
nothing.
State action, was it not?
Absolutely.
And then it now escalated even further. As a response to that, some people ran amok all over the place, vandalizing, murdering, burning. So what on earth does that have to do with Jack Dorsey?
Absolutely.
But what he must learn is the lesson. He must be open to the lesson that he had to learn in 2013 when he was actually trying to be quite stubborn about the rights of ISIS to use Twitter in their recruitment recruitment and propagation of information. After a while, even he knew he had to start shutting down those accounts. So what he must learn in this, not to throw the baby out with the bathwater and just say, well, I didn't do anything, shrug and move on. He must also be careful in what he does use his platform to do so that he's not roped in and made a scapegoat in an issue that really has nothing